Hi, ladies. I'm Johnnetta McSwain, and I just want to leave a message with you today. I want to give you a little empowerment to let you know that no matter what your past is, no matter what has happened to you in the past, that you can rise above it, you can overcome, you can be anything that you want to be. A little quick story about me. I was abused from 5 to 10 by my 3 uncles. I was brutally raped. I was emotionally abused by my mother. I was told I'd never be nothing. I was ugly. I was left in the bushes to die. I dropped out of high school. In the 10th grade, I had a baby daddy. I started going to the clubs, and, just acting a fool. I've been to jail. All that has happened to me. But I got it together at 30. I moved to Atlanta. I saved my baby boys. I started college. Yes, I went to college, ladies. You can go to, it's never too late. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You can learn. Went to college at 33 years old. Graduated my first degree, first in my family. Wow. What a remarkable time that was for me. Then I went on and got my master's because I wanted to do something priceless. I wanted to give back. So I'm giving back to you today. And I want you to know that I have a book called Rising Above the Scars. I wrote it. I published it. Anything you want to do. I have a documentary that you will be seeing. It's called The Road Beyond Abuse. Guess what? I won an Emmy. Yes. Can you believe that? So all I want you to know is that you are beautiful. I have all these scars all over my body. But you know what? I looked in the mirror and I saw something that nobody told me, that I was a queen and that I was beautiful. Who would have ever thought that I would be talking to you today? So I want to say to you, please love yourself. Be a lady. Be a queen. Break the cycles of destruction and abuse. Break the silence and the shame. There's nothing to be ashamed about.
The one question Johnnetta always is asked when she tells her story is, how did you do it? As you'll soon hear, it's a question she's always happy to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Johnnetta McSwain. There are few greater voices on the horrors of child sexual and physical abuse than Johnnetta McSwain. She lived it and survived it.
My name is Johnnetta McSwain, and I am going to share my story of how I overcame childhood sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. My mother was a single mother. My sister and I, and a male cousin, he was 5, I was 5, our sister was 6. We would go up under the house, and we would crawl up under this crawl space because it was our shelter. It was our escape. It was the only place that no one knew that we were. So I would get my stick and my brick and my cousin and my sister, and we would sit up in this house and we were getting ready to plot how we were going to escape this ruthless beating and this horrific sexual assault that was about to happen. My grandmother is singing her little church hymns, and she's calling me and my sister and my boy cousin to come into the house. And we can hear the 3 uncles preparing for us. And as we come in the house one by one, they were running to hold on to the bed, and my sister ran and my cousin ran, and to hold on to grip the pole, the bed pole, the post, anything that we could find to grip on, because these three men would chase us down. Vicious. And I could see my sister fighting, and my uncle's punching her in her face, and I could see my sister's body beginning to just weaken. As they caught us, they would sit us in 3 chairs in the middle of the floor and tie us up with ropes, our hands and feet with ropes. And I remember watching my uncles take turns. I remember sitting there like a statue. Where do you go? Where do you say? And I could see my sister and boy cousin next to me, and my sister would fight and fight, and I would just lay there. But that was just one of the episodes. There were so many. I remember being 8 or 9 years old, and I remember one of my uncles just getting out of prison. Me and my sister was in our room, the door closed, we were still asleep, we locked the door. As we watched the doorknob turn and turn and turn until he literally got the doorknob off, and he fell on the floor, and he came in the room, and he picked me up, put up to my bed, and took me in the bathroom. And I remember just lying in his arms, because I was a little girl, and my sister bound and rushed on the door and said, "Give me back my sister," telling my mom something is wrong with me. And my mom finally took me to the doctor, and I remember my mom, them telling my mom that I look back at it now, and I think, why didn't nobody say, we walked to school with our necks full, our face beaten and punched. And this secret went so long until we couldn't tell anybody. I was literally born into this family who didn't love me. I remember my mom abusing me, telling me I wish I would have killed you. My mother literally left me in the bush for 3 days. The abuse started. My earliest memory is about 5. So there were different times that these uncles had, molested us. So it was throughout, and it was those 3 uncles. But there was a great uncle that I remember had a wooden leg, and I remember he would tell me to come to the back room and sit me on his lap. All these things are happening at house. It was almost safer to not say anything. 7 or 8 years old, we was at my grandmother's house, my sister and I, my boy cousin. We were outside and we was fighting about something. And so we were saying, I'm gonna tell we did it. I'm gonna tell they did this to us. Uncles did it. We called it doing it. And my grandmother called us in the house and said, "What are you talking about?" And I remember being petrified to say anything. My mom was a chronic alcoholic, and so she would just drop us there at the house. We were in a place where there just was not love. And so when you wake up in the morning and you're getting punched and kicked across the room just because you woke up, I would wake up, I would literally get woken up because I peed in the bed. As a little girl, I was so terrified. So my auntie was me and my boy cousin on the porch in Birmingham, Alabama in the winters until we learned our lesson. And I can remember just shivering and being so cold. I came down with pneumonia. My dad was around. I saw him very few times in my entire life, but there was no one, there was no dad. And most of the men that my mom brought into her life was abusers. I was 16 and I was filling out and, shapely. I had learned to hate my body. I mean, I was just a fine girl and I thought I was so ugly. I started locking my doors, and so my mom had this man in her room. He came in my room at 16 years old, and I jumped up and I started screaming, "Mama, help me, help me." And she ran in the room and she saw this fan, and I was standing on my knees. She stole this to me. She hit me so hard until I fell to the floor. She said, "Bitch, that's my name. Where do you go? Who do you tell?" So throughout the years from 5 to 10, I remember some form of abuse, whether it was physical, it was verbal. We grew up in Holiness in the South, from Alabama. And so we went to church a lot. We were dressed down to our ankles. We couldn't wear makeup, we couldn't do anything that was outside of the church. My grandmother would go to church a lot. We all did, but my uncles would, ask my grandmother, leave the kids at home with us. We'll keep the girl, we'll keep the kids. It was a secret that we held, all three of us, until I was 30. In 11, 12 years old, when I started to understand the abuse, but I didn't tell anybody. I went to school, I was called Scarface, I was called, ugly, because I had scars all over my body. I used to steal. I started stealing at 12 years old. Just panic, because I didn't have any panic. Wear a bra, shoes, because I wanted to be pretty. As I started getting bullied, I ended up dropping out of high school. My sister had dropped out at this time, my boy cousin, so there was no reason for me to go to school. And I began a life of self-destruction. I started hanging on the street. I started selling dope in a dope house. I had a gun. I was 17. I am jumping in cars. I am in a fake ID. I'm in the club at 17 years old. I was the good girl. I was the girl who wanted to not get hit. I didn't know what love was because my mother never loved me, told me she loved me. I was the girl who just wanted to be a friend, wanted to be liked. I think dropping out was a part of the cycle. So it was so easy to drop out because when you're in an environment that's not conducive to education. So in the 80s, came on the scene. The apartment next door to me became the trap house. One thing my mother taught me was how to cook. I'm from Berlin, from the South, so we can cook. And so I remember the dope man would come knock on the door and say, come cook for us. This kind of lifestyle. Not saying that it was good, but it was better than my life. It was better than what I have been used to. And so to get money, to riding flashy cars, to be a part of something, because they became my family. So that gave me some sense of pride. I know it sounds weird, but it did. And it was exciting to me. I was, hanging up in the club. People, guys are noticing me. And I became numb to love, period. So I began that lifestyle. And then at 19, I get pregnant. I'm in this club life. I'm in this dope game. I'm in this game. And here I am, a single mother. High school dropout. No daddy. No job. My mama told me, she said, okay, now you go get Section 8, you go get welfare, you go get food stamps. Do you hear the cycle? And it continues. Luckily, gratefully, I was somewhere and I saw a flyer for your GED. Somewhere down the road, I was gonna need education. So I got my GED around the age, maybe I'm gonna say 20 or something like that. I got this GED program and I got my GED and I failed. I failed my GED the first time. But I went back at 30 students and I passed the second time. So, okay, I got my GED. Continued to find the next outfit to get in the club, the next ride to get down the street to the club. Because at that time, I was heavy into the club life. I'm looking for a babysitter, an outfit, and to get to the club. And that was my life. I wanted to be a player. I just thought I'm gonna be a player, I'm a player. And that was it for me. I didn't love anybody. I was so hardcore. I was just out there. I was so grateful that I'm living today. So at age 26, I had my second son. At that point in my life, I was still doing the clubbing, still working a temporary job, and I was still stealing. I went to the law, me and my girl, and we were stealing. And I remember having both of my children with me, my 7-year-old and a 7-month-old. And I remember fighting with the people in the store, trying to get away with this dress that I had stolen. In this particular moment, at a police station, I could see the police coming. And I could see my 7-year-old son screaming and crying, Mama! And then I had my 7-month baby in the stroller. And because I'm running and fighting, I left my baby, I left the stroller. Police got me down in the parking lot. I'm on the ground, they handcuffed me, and they put me in the back of the police car. And I'm sitting in that police car, and I'm about 27 years old. And I see my 7-year-old son standing at the window screaming, Mama, Mama, please don't be. So at that moment, I knew that I was in trouble. I knew at that moment that I was going to be my mother. And it scared me to death. And as I sat in the backseat of that police car in handcuffs, I promised that I was going to do something. I didn't even know at that point why. I knew that if I didn't do something, I was going to die. Well, my 2 children was not going to be proud of me, was not going to love me. I ended up with a felony for robbery. I remember that lawyer telling me I was done. You'll never be anything, you'll never have a job, you're gonna have a felony the rest of your life. And so, at 30, I was getting ready for my birthday. As I sat on my bed, something happened to me. And I looked in the mirror, there was a big mirror on my bed and on my dresser. And I sat in the bed and I looked in this mirror, oh my God. And I saw the most ugliest, broken woman that I had ever came in contact with. And at that very moment, I threw my hands up and I asked God to help me, save me. I called my landlord and said, I'm leaving Birmingham, Alabama. I'm going to save my life so that I can save my 2 sons' life. I wanted to be a good woman. I didn't know what good was. I didn't have an example of healthy. I didn't have the example of how a woman's supposed to act, how love felt. But I was 30 years old and I was gonna find out. And I remember my Section 8 worker saying, where are you gonna go? I said, I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia, because my best friend had already moved here. I didn't care if I had anywhere to stay. I didn't care if I had to stay on the floor. I didn't care where I had to. I was running for my life. I got the biggest truck that you can find in Birmingham, Alabama. I packed my truck up, me and my 4-year-old son. It was 20 years ago. Next month would be 20 years that I jumped in that big truck. That was the day that changed my life. I sat down at my table and began to write Rising Above the Stars. As long as we keep secrets, we are as sick as our secrets. And as long as we protect perpetrators and protect Papa and Mama and free, then we continue to stay broken. We continue to stay the victim. I share my story so that I can give you permission to share yours. I want to give you permission to smile, to take your life back. I want to give you permission to be great. See, when you find peace and love, and you find hope, and you find goodness, you gotta share it.